You prayed over your home. You anointed the doors. You rebuked the enemy by name. And something is still wrong. Not wrong like a bad week, wrong like a presence, wrong like arguments that starts from nowhere over nothing. Wrong like your children can't sleep and you can't pray, and the atmosphere of the place where your family is supposed to be safest feels like anything but safe. And you have been blaming the enemy for an open door you created yourself. Ephesians 4 verse 27 does not say the devil broke in. It says, do not give the devil a foothold. Give. That is a voluntary word, a decision word, which means the most dangerous spiritual attacks on your home are not the ones forced through from outside. They are the ones walked in through doors you opened yourself without realizing what you were doing. Here are 8 of them. Number 1. You pray over your home, but not in it. There is a difference between dedicating your home to God once and maintaining it as consecrated ground daily. Most Christians do the first and skip the second. They anoint the doorposts at the beginning of the year and consider the matter settled. But spiritual atmosphere is not a one-time declaration. It is a daily cultivation. What you allow into that space every single day is either reinforcing the consecration or quietly eroding it. I learned this during a season where my home felt spiritually flat, despite the fact that I was praying consistently. The prayers were real, but they were happening outside the home mostly, in the car, at church. In my personal quiet time elsewhere, the home itself had become a place I lived in, but not a place I actively maintained spiritually. The difference between those two things showed up in the atmosphere before I could name what had changed. A house that is not regularly covered in prayer is a house operating without its primary protection. Not because God abandons uncovered homes, because prayer is the mechanism through which you exercise spiritual authority over the territory God placed in your care. 2. You allow unresolved sin to live comfortably under your roof. When habitual, unrepentant sin is present in a home, it does not stay contained to the person practicing it. It creates an atmosphere. It gives darkness a legal claim to a space that was dedicated to God. Joshua 7 is the most confronting biblical evidence of this principle. One man, one hidden sin, buried under his tent, and the entire nation of Israel lost a battle they should have won with ease. The defeat was not random. It was the direct consequence of something concealed inside the camp. Your hidden sin is not a private problem. Inside a household, it becomes a shared one. And the family members who have no knowledge of it still live inside the atmosphere it creates. 3. You brought something in that needed to stay out. What you carry into your home matters spiritually. What you hang on your walls. What was given to you as a gift. What you purchased without researching its origin or its symbolism. Acts 19 verse 19 records new believers burning scrolls worth 50,000 pieces of silver. Not storing them, not donating them, burning them. Because they understood that certain objects carry histories, and those histories do not become neutral simply because they changed ownership. I once received a decorative gift from someone I later discovered was involved in practices that directly opposed everything I believed. I had placed it prominently in my home because it was beautiful. After removing it and praying over the space, the shift in that room was immediate enough that my spouse noticed it before I said a word. Objects are not magic, but they carry what was spoken over them and what they were dedicated to. 4. You replaced prayer with entertainment and called it rest. What consistently plays in your home shapes its spiritual atmosphere. Every hour of content that celebrates darkness, normalizes what God calls sin, or simply fills the space where God's presence used to be, is an hour that is forming the spiritual environment your family breathes in. Psalm 101 verse 3 says, I will set before my eyes no vile thing. David understood that what enters through the eyes does not stop at the eyes. The question is not whether you watch television. The question is whether what you watch is building the atmosphere of your home or slowly dismantling it. Those are the only two options available. There is no neutral ground in a space dedicated to God. 5. You let unforgiveness set up a permanent address. A home where deep, unresolved offense lives between its members is a home with a crack in its spiritual foundation. Matthew 18 verses 34 and 35 connects unforgiveness directly to being handed over to tormentors. That word tormentors is not metaphorical in the context of a household carrying generational bitterness. The tension that has a presence, the rooms that feel heavier than others, the pattern of conflict that erupts the same way every time without resolution. These are not personality clashes. They are the fruit of a root that was never dealt with. Forgiveness inside a household is not just personal healing, it is spiritual warfare. It closes a door the enemy was using as a corridor. 6. You gave the wrong people repeated access. Not everyone who enters your home leaves the same atmosphere behind them. Some people carry things that deposit into the spiritual environment of a space when they enter it. Chronic bitterness. Occult involvement they are either unaware of or unconcerned about. A spiritual darkness that makes itself known not through anything visible, but through what shifts in your home after they leave. I had someone in my life whose visits consistently left my home feeling heavier. Arguments would surface within hours of their departure. A restlessness would settle that took days to lift. It took longer than it should have to connect the pattern, and longer still to act on what I was seeing. But Proverbs 4 verse 23 says, "Guard your heart above everything else." Your home is the heart of your family. It requires the same intentional protection. 7. You removed spiritual leadership and left the territory uncovered. God designed the home with a spiritual covering system. When that system is ignored, the home does not become spiritually neutral. It becomes spiritually vulnerable. This is not about hierarchy for its own sake. It is about the simple reality that a home where nobody is actively exercising spiritual authority is a home where something else will fill that vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. So does the spiritual realm. Every member of your household being spiritually engaged is not optional equipment for the Christian home. It is the structure through which God's covering flows. When everyone is praying, everyone is accountable, everyone is actively maintaining the spiritual health of the household, the enemy has significantly fewer entry points. When nobody is doing it, he has significantly more. 8. The last thing. Your home belongs to God. But belonging and being maintained as his are two different things. The enemy does not need to force his way into a home that has left its doors open. He simply walks through the ones you created. Through hidden sin and unexamined objects, and unforgiving hearts, and unguarded gates, and uncovered territory, and a prayer life that dedicated the home once and never returned to maintain what was declared. Close the doors. Not with a single prayer and a bottle of anointing oil. With daily decisions about what you allow, what you maintain, what you remove, and who has access to the space your family lives in. Pray this over your home today, out loud, in every room if you have to. This house belongs to God. Darkness has no legal right here. Every door I opened, unknowingly I close now by the authority of Jesus. Fill what I empty, Lord. Occupy what I surrender. This home is yours. Then write, "My home belongs to God," in the comments. And mean it like a declaration.